Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. So I think the most difficult challenge for a body session is to keep everybody ignited and interested. After Joseph gave a very interesting day where I thought that has set a very formative direction for us. Now the decision for this panel is at how are all of us balancing between the machine brain and the human heart. And what is the direction of travel for us in our organizations in terms of AI, right? So I will open the question, a common question. Now AI, as per me, pardon me for saying this, the speed at which it's changing, it's an old story. 24 months old. So if I got to ask you, if you have to report to your board what you have done in 18 months on AI, how would you say succinctly in minimum number of words in terms of ROI or direction or what he Ashish?
Hey, most hardest question I think, and to begin there. So it's very hard to put it in the, in less words. But what I really focus on was just to complement other personality. I think we all start with the AI. We shouldn't be in a rush to or the raise where we are just implementing AI use cases. Rather, what is the business value for profit? And what is the governance around it? Are we really working on the value that can drive the business strategy and complementing the vision of your organization, not just for the sake of implementing AI use cases? So that's something key, because that's what even the leadership would be looking on. It's always when it boils down to the ROI, you were having a candid conversation outside. So I think it's very weird to bring in an ROI on a list of use cases where we still don't even know whether it can start generating payrolls. Because lots of use cases that is being identified, they're still at a sandbox before it is actually made it to the production aspects of it. So I think we coming from the governance events, we need to be very careful in terms of creating from sandbox to production without hindering or without compromising on the value and the ethical aspects of it.
Thanks. Now over to you, Awad. How do you see ADNOC being such a large organization, which I think you could have plenty of AI use cases or activities that's happening in your organization? How would you report to a journey to your board in terms of what you have achieved and what's the right way to do?
Yeah, so basically this is all part of the future fast page when it comes to Aster technology itself. So AI is part of the story, the data, but overall for us it's basic. Company has a strategy, has a KPI, and has a target that we set. So to achieve that, yes, similar to the business, and this is the integration happens usually we do as soon as AI, GFL, and business leaders, and discuss what is really required then of technology, whether on AI, whether on beauty, etc., in order to achieve your KPI. And for us, this KPIs was on the either revenue generation, cost optimization, or maybe avoiding some regulatory risk, or maybe custom experience. So if fall under most these spot pockets. The moment we find there is an opportunity with the business, and the business here is evolved for like yes, if you can give me a solution that can, for example, automate my boarding and forecast without the human interloop, like reduce my layout for itself, and then reduce my resources and increase productivity, then we go for it. So we take all those things and we have a so we stomp all this watchers. When we have this committee is with chairperson. It's called Spin off External for AI, digital and technology. It has all the leaders, the development for the marketing, finance, operation. All dates shared by CEO, and we mean monthly loss. We list down these cases, and there is a threat. This case can break this body, and people fall for it. So the decisions comes out of this committee is 100% is the KPI that we, as well we discussed it, to be more than as what was mentioned. And it will be really a pain in the company that we are sure we address throughout the implementation project. So it's not more hype, it's not more a pilot, it's a real project that will be delivered. And then you would see the back. On top of that, we do something within months only in Awad organization, tracking, which is tracked every month about every AI and digital technology deployed. So project went live. What is the write-off? And need to be tracked. And after tracking it has to be afforded. That's it. So there is no anymore a question of people, you do research and work now up the test, a part of the bigger research and work. But the reality, at the end, anything goes for production has to have value, has to be tracked. So this way, we standardize the reporting. So we know exactly, me and my team, what we are going to do in the next 12 months. And there is no guess scheme. And we stay also away from, things that comes as a parachute that may not react, that this is what you are following.
Thank you. That's very interesting. I mean, AI Center of Excellence, then a overview committee that looks at all the use cases and then balancing to report him. Now to Ashish. Ashish, what do you see is the biggest misconception the board or the leadership has about AI, and where is the gap between their expectation and your value realization?
Environment, yeah. So because USA is the tougher copy, right?
Yeah, I mean, access on RTXP can always talk.
It is. So, first of all, the challenge which I believe most of us are going through is about the comparison. When we are comparing our in-house thing with something which is already accessible to mass, I will just take an example of the way OpenAI is packing up it with GPU, right? Of course, you are getting it for NVIDIA. Now, there is a huge scale, huge pack, a huge, you can say, tokenized mechanism, which is at play there. They already have done the hard work. Now, if I am working on something and if I compare it with something like that, it takes years to build something that OpenAI, something they were consistently working through, I think, 2013, right? So, this is where I see a expectation difference. Second is many times there are cliques made across that we have been able to do wonders because of using AI. And it comes a lot in media as well, it comes a lot, we discovered in social space as well, that people have done wonders basically. That sets up very unrealistic expectation, and you get it to a form actually. And I'm not doing, and there is substantial value which is unlocked. And where am I? And why we are not at the speed where we should be? Every organization has the kind of bedrock. I will classify this bedrock as things where you are basic and things where you are advanced. I have very clearly seen that if in the advanced processes or things, you are pushing AI, there the tier processes are defined, tier stakeholders are not. There the advantage is much more. If your base data or if your base is not good enough, then of course AI is not able to solve it for you. Because let's take an example, if over Google, top 10 search results are wrong for anything. That is what the AI is spit out for. Right? So this is where I see that understanding has to be there, and there has to be realistic expectation. Third thing is that if we are doing POCs, then we have to commit to that as well. And when I say commitment means in every AI-led discovery, AI-led program, of course, no one is going to scale it, but scale it a better first go. The outcomes which are coming around that, those have to be executed as well. So this just got that you have got something you have to execute it, and if you execute it, or the Peter Pan, then you can see back. So this is where I see a dissonance, but I think people are realizing it, and the realistic expectations also are coming. If I see this hype cycle 2 years ago to now, I think we are in a better shape.
Interesting. I mean, that's a very interesting point you mentioned, Ashish, that it's very important that you set your own benchmarks, and the speed of AI technology should not be your big benchmark per se, but your own organizational maturity and readiness across process and data. Thanks for that. Okay, financially interesting point of ours, briefly. So Since you are responsible for governance, who owns the responsibility? What you have seen is the CEO, is the CFO, is the CIO, is the CDO. I mean, is it lost between matrix or in the end, no, Bobby, you are the governance guy, so you are responsible. So who shares the burden in the team?
I think this is the answer. I think I've been answering in almost an hour as well. Yeah, so after a lot this exactly. So it's we are as you Balu, but we are not like a mediator or a facilitators in the organizations. So I think with all this hype cycle, we know that we can enable AI, but the journey is between AI enablement to the AI accountability standpoint. So that's where, as then with that said, so we have this committee where it's a cross-functional collaboration. So we have teams from business, risk, compliance, legal. So it's very difficult to take ownership from the governance standpoint. I mean, I cannot say that I own the piece, but I'm responsible for the outcomes. If I miss out, let's say there is any kind of a mishap or any kind of the impact, that's kind of both opportunity card is being introduced or a model card is being introduced. We try to capture the nth detailed aspects of it so that we can reduce the noise ratio. That's very key. So what is that impact that we are to bring in on the table, and how it is going to? Is there a way? I mean, it's easy to kill at a sandbox rather than we say making into production in the narrative something like that. This is the commit that we take at ownership. But every use case specific, the business owner needs to be asked because they are the one who, I mean, the ideation from ideation, and also with respect to the data that is being requested, we also quite involve data owners in place to see. So we cannot say, okay, this is a single guy who will take complete ownership. The committee takes the ownership of the entire piece of, because when we do represent the monthly value to the top management or to the board, so it's a very collective effort which goes it. But I think AI literacy is something which I've been embarking upon because it's very difficult for business to understand what we are asking. Right? Every question that we ask as part of our AI governance model could be from fairness, explainability, or even a basics of data quality aspects of it. So it has its own impact. This is what which we have been querying because there's only we are leading stewardship committee, both from data and AI perspective, based on a very use-based specific. Which kinds of now we see the transformation based that. So people are not rush to delivery, whether they want to own it, they want to see the actual of it. Even though you have tons of use cases, we want to narrow down to the one which will naturally be prioritized for the business which we are pointing to.
Interesting. I mean, while we talk about AI outcomes, be it to in the loop, literally at an organizational level where you want to implement AI, you need to have strong unit review so that the training and everything is in line. Now, Awad, put to you, it's about organization. Sure, across different business workflows, you have experts or trying to be the force behind accelerating or the other. So, who owns the AI project? I mean, is it a YT responsibility, or it's somebody in the transformation who leads it, or some other team? It has definitely the architecture or overall organizational architecture still stays with that. So, how do you set that up if you're a kind of large-scale organization?
Oh, yes, yes. So, in case of that, because everyone knows that the company has not more than 16 research days, the company owns 30,000 by default, 2,000. Well, of course, there's also endless code for all the technology company out within the exceed in that. So that large scale, the digital transformation is being, of course, support of moving services, pay to pay, etc. But now, what is really working better is basically any digital transformation approach to other specific. What they are, they shape the business. So the owner is not us. I tell the owner. We are the enabler. So owner, what is the responsibility for what? Let's say a retailers are. So the owner has to call. What the problem is taken? Aside subject matter expert ability to knows what is this problem and how they are actually planning to address it using technology to The people who are appointed, they upload already to an intensive training and awareness to the URCAT to where data is available to the company, what is the latest quality of this data and so on. And this journey is not at the journey today, it's journey of 10 years, so that we take them by. The people has reached to a stage, they know exactly what data they had in the company, what extended data is required, what's the quality of the data. They have already mastered, let's say, with the current distribution of PI, classic and GMM and using it, etc. So they own the budget. This is on the second. They know what is expected as out. And this was not the case in the past. The past idea was to prepare the scope of documents, sit with them. IT was, they basically, they will use this. This has been changed. So we have subsequent expert on the business who lead the project from business side. They can also the budget, they own that budget, and they also opt out. So what the allow is to lead it. Tip to see the work at the end of the table. Basically implement the solution. Take it all to the UAT, to the production, or that is scaling it, guiding them. But they are the ones who stand from top the board, say, yes, we have delivered it. They have both AID, the team, and this is the value, and we need to enhance this. So this ownership can change again. So now we find people coming to us instead of the pre-chased. Before IT of the digital team used to chase this. This is what if gap is different. How's the other? Now we are listening to business, but we also show them what's the trade deploying. There is an agentic AI, there is a solution, can't do this, but please go and decide if you want to restructure. So that ownership is very, very key. In any company, it's not just like, if you don't have the business ownership, you rather want to start, because you see the failure very soon.
Thanks. That's interesting. I mean, 16 entities, 2,000 ID employees, 70,000 whole other employees. So definitely has to be a liaison between the IT and the business with OPR ownership. Ashish, that leads me to a classic question. So what I see in organizations, CFO will keep the budget close to their heart, right? The data is owned by the data infrastructure of the data warehousing team that we do not share data. That PI is an orphan between departments. Whoever seeks report, they get it. So now the coming of AI and getting acceleration, my question is, how do you decide as the CDIO what has to be centralized and what has to be decentralized between data or order governance, data squad governance, budgets, etc.?
Very interesting question. First of all, if you centralize this entire data governance or how you keep the data, then it actually becomes a big part. Creates roadblocks with the organization. It continuously keeps saying that there is a need of data deprioritization. Everyone should have data, whatever data they say. So long ago, I remember that there was a very good analogy given by one of my leaders. That we did call it the kitchen analogy. The kitchen analogy is that I will give you all the utensils. I will give you a cooking range. I will give you microwave, I will give you average, whatever you really need, all those things. And I will create the base point. After that, I will empower you that you become your own cook. You can make whatever you want to make out of it. So essentially, whenever I'm working around these better programs, I separate it into two specific buckets. One is something which is needed at the central level. Or at the leadership level, or even at the operational level at times. If it is a common thing across, those are the things which are both and created by centrality. Right. Second is about creating a mechanism where this data becomes accessible to the rest of the people as well. So let's say, I will just give it a very example. Let's say there is a sales leader, and sales leader is looking for some specific way of data. He wants to look at it in a particular specific way. One thing, of course, there you can ask those questions, but those parameters has to be there. Let's say those are not there. Then the person will, of course, put demand to the secretary. If that is the way it is structured. Now, by that time, this person will get data. I do so. You lost all of this. It's so long that they are right. So speed is very materialistic here. So in those scenarios, what I will do that I will have the data overlay, the central repository and that thing, that can be accessed by his own team, and they can have their own DA who can analyze, who can see whatever is happening. So those kind of structures has to be maintained, but they have to be very clearly defined. I will give another example where one of the person that I do everything on IO created something based on Excels, and then creating a visualization gear over those Excels. Top, very good job is done. Got able to do it. Every day, this person is downloading data from the core system by taking it again in Excel and now feeding to visualization. Now you have created, you started to do something good. You have created a problem for yourself where every day you are doing something money. So those kind of scenarios have to be eradicated. They should not even get instructed. So this is how I see the centralized and you can say overall structure. It has to be designed in the right way, not too much control and not low controls.
Interesting. So I think that's a good framework for all of us, that why we go to empower our teams with self-service, business intelligence, or some outcome from AI. But we need to ensure that we don't over-democratize and run the risk of intent of AI. But great. So I'm not sure how much time we have, but I have an interesting question for three of you. Same question. What is your AI bet with, for 2026 and beyond, given different options now coming into foray? We heard about native AI, then we also have been reading or knowing what Anthropic did with co-work. How does that change your AI strategy within your organization, or any other innovation that's happening in the AI space? So what would be, Gopi, starting from you, what would be your key cloud AI bets for 2026 and 7?
Great. So I think AI, the first one will be AI without governance as a gamble, per se. So I think the governance layer plays a very critical role in the AI lifecycle. The second one is data is combination. So let's get our data right first in place before even enabling AI use case. I think most of the organizations currently we are focusing on the data organization, the platform organization, very specifically. And of course, the third one, we need to bring in lots of the business-driven use cases, not just for the sake of enabling AI with the right way. I think these are the three focus areas, and it is a very collaborative effort. I think we as a data practitioners or AI enablers, we need to keep insisting these pointers or outliers to the top management, because for them it's more on the outcome, but for us it's more on the value that we are trying to enable out of a data space.
So you said four things: governance, data, platform, organization, and business-led AI use cases, not just mundane AI traps. Awad, what would be your agenda out for such? It's 64 only.
The top three platforms that we are working this year, people sometimes forget to most it's number one. It's the training and awareness of the data on the company for every business. Because we identify, and I've shared this gap with many companies, that you always have a huge ones, whether from management level or from working team. We have a lot of data in the system that maybe people beyond my IT or a specific business, they don't know anything about it. So there is a big asset, a big code sitting after the hood. Many people doesn't know about it. And they go search outside for data, for which etc. So what the highest, but because if a company running for many years, definitely there is a. And this asset, this data, knowledge is very true. So we always have this concept which called Faltana. That's a logo of our company as a Falco. So Faltana is a company-wide data, knowledge and training program that keep running every week, every month across all the business. Increase the maturity of data awareness, and during that maturity, data quality also hit addressed. So that's priority number one, because other things is all will become high. If you're publishing or gambling, chat. So if data is not available in that right quality, nothing of this innovation can reach the tables. That's number one. Number two is basically a business-led AI initiatives. It's not anymore that digital or AI team can say, let's try this and this. Okay, you can do that as an R&D, as long as there is something to back up from the business that yes, if we do this, we can see a benefit. So business has to eat. This is the second thing. Number 3, which people always forget about, is the value tracking. People are implementing projects, signing the document of production goal, and then they forget about whether there is a value prop. No one knows. People are using the system. No one knows. So this monitoring and tracking of value and adoption, value and adoption goes hand in hand. Once you do this 3, this is what you need. This is the foundation to ensure that you have an incremental success and it can be sustained. That's basically the strategy.
Very interesting point. I think I read somewhere that the overall intelligence of your organization is the average intelligence of the people who work for that organization. So therefore, what Awad mentioned about data intelligence across people, that having the right business use cases and value realization, these are the 3 great agendas for your company. Ashish, now would be to you. How do you balance between technology, business, and what are your agendas to CXOs only?
So, first of all, as I said, that there has to be clear outcomes, right? There is one gap area that
Can I modify the question? I wanted to understand what's your technology roadmap in terms of how do you want to use AI in what form? From technology side.
So, first of all, I'm a person who is not very hard on technology. I work in the technology area, but I'm not hard on technology. I look at whenever I'm working around any benefit spaces, that what is the best benefit, and my criteria are very clear. Top line, bottom line, compliance, regulatory. These are my clear criteria based on which I apply traffic. Now, when I'm looking at AI, I look at from an angle. There might be cases where there will be no RFI. Okay, yeah, and still we will take a pursue it. I'm saying it in a very slow voice, but you need to pursue it. If you are not pursuing it, someone else will. Because if we look at the overall to bearing around world, none of the AI companies are still profitable, other than the media, which is selling GPUs. So no one has become profitable in tablet actually. Second shift, what I'm saying across border industries are companies who are predominantly in a particular line of business, let's say healthcare or manufacturing or even travel. They are predominantly going to become AI with the shift in the mindset. If businesses has decided that I going to go for AI first, then they are going to be pretty much AI led company. From digital transformation, it goes now AI led. Second thing, what I'm also observing that there might be a cooperative disability also being enhanced. And why I'm saying the participability in terms of community capabilities, people do rely too much on AI. And there was a time when I was using too much of AI, I stopped thinking. So I had to stop usage of AI as well. So because it creates a check with. Third thing what I've observed that in every area there is going to be immense cost reduction because competitiveness in the AI space is pretty huge, and that's going to bring low cost towards different ecosystem partners and providers. But once the adoption rate is pretty high, this would be like Amazon part. It would be for few niche areas, and then it's going to generate content. So these primarily 3 shifts also which I've observed with. And this is how actually I'm working on my roadmap. Coming back to the original question, that this is how I'm working towards it. because the way I see is, I will need to get into those spaces where even if there is no ROI, because I will believe in it in the long term.
Thank you, Ashish. I think I'm happy I nudged you. We got some very interesting point from Ashish that we know it's on the table. AI companies are not profitable, so you need to pursue AI use spaces that may not give you ROI because it's important for the organization. Second, cognitive intelligence is very important in the AI age. Third, if you're trying to become an AI-first company, that's the direction of travel. Thank you so much, panelists. It was a pleasure talking to you and thank you for some lovely insights. Have a great day.
Thanks, for particular for KKC.